Epictetus, the famous Stoic philosopher, once stated, "The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best." You've probably heard the saying, "You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." Today, we're going to look at that concept from a Stoic perspective. We'll talk about the 7 kinds of people that may impede your Stoic philosophical development and how to handle these difficult, challenging interactions. To help me expand the Stoic concept, I would appreciate it if you could like the video before we start. To ensure you don't miss any videos, I recommend you to subscribe and turn on the bell if you haven't already. Type of people number 1, the drama magnet. When you're navigating your life like a ship over calm waters, you can run into the drama magnet, which is a vortex of events. This person appears to be involved in a never-ending string of crises, conflicts, or scandals. They also possess the unsettling capacity to draw you into their chaotic vortex, much like a whirlpool. At first, you can be drawn to the drama magnet's energy and mistake it for excitement or passion. But you'll quickly learn that being in their realms is dangerous and draining, much like piloting a ship through a storm. Now, what makes handling drama queens so difficult is that their crises can often feel like your own. Their chaos is so contagious that you may even become involved in arguments that you did not start. Let's use a real-world illustration. A friend of yours frequently gets into arguments with others in your social circle. Annie won't be speaking to them today. Mark will do so tomorrow. When your friend seeks your advice, you realize that this vicious cycle never stops. And all of a sudden, you're at odds with Annie or Mark as well, since you tried to step in. You might use a technique known as reflective listening in this situation. Reflect back to them what they have said, rather than giving guidance or siding with them. For example, if they say, "I can't believe Annie said that about me," you could respond with, "So you're feeling betrayed by Annie's words." By using this method, you may offer emotional support without becoming involved in the drama yourself. Another strategy, which may seem illogical at first, is to make yourself selectively inaccessible. Stoicism serves as a reminder to value our time, which occasionally requires saying no to other people's emergencies, particularly if they keep happening without ending. Turn off your phone at specific times. Set out time during the day to focus only on business or personal growth, and communicate to others that you are not to be interrupted during these intervals. To paraphrase Seneca, true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. This is very useful for handling drama seekers. Instead of worrying about what disaster will arise next, focus on the situation you are in control of right now. Don't allow the drama of others ruin your fun-filled existence. Make it a point to sail your ship with composure, avoiding whirlpools that might jeopardize your peaceful and intimate journey. Type of people number 2. The complainer. Everybody has that friend, relative, or co-worker that always seems to find something wrong with the world. They never pass up the chance to express their displeasure over anything, whether it is the popular restaurant's food, the weather, or their employment. You may be thinking, "Why should I be concerned? I can just ignore them." That's easier said than done, unfortunately. Your mental health is negatively impacted by ongoing exposure to such negativity. It's like having a leaking faucet that gradually drains your emotional energy. Stoicism encourages us to stop moping over issues and instead concentrate on workable solutions. Consider the scenario when you are working on a project with a chronic complainer. Every meeting devolves into a tiresome round of complaints with no productive conversation. As a result, the team's morale drops. You become distracted from coming up with workable solutions, and you'll probably find yourself growing more and more dissatisfied with the project, and maybe life in general. So, how does Stoicism help us deal with a complainer? There are several tactics that you may use. Initially, Try to avoid being around this person as much as possible. If that's not possible, perhaps because they're a co-worker or family member, your other choice is to put yourself in a mental space while they're shouting. Consider their complaints as a noisy, uncomfortable storm that is going by, yet ultimately fleeting and powerless, against the immovable mountain of inner peace that is you. The third option is to change the topic to something more positive or steer the debate toward solutions. According to Marcus Aurelius, you have power over your mind, not outside events. When you accept this, you'll develop courage. This timeless Stoic advice encourages us to take careful care of our mental serenity, ensuring that we never deviate from our Stoic road of virtue and resilience due to the negativity of persistent complainers. Type of people number 3, the victim. Imagine life as a game of chess. The objective for every player is to checkmate the opponent's king with the same pieces. You exercise strategic thinking, make some hard choices, and take some chances. But for every bad move they make, the victim throws the blame on the board, the pieces, or even their opponent. They believe that they are always in a state of checkmate, not as a result of their decisions, but rather because of an outside force against them. They are portrayed as the defenseless lead character in an endless story of woe. My manager doesn't like me, therefore I can't advance in my position, or my genetics prevent me from becoming physically fit. It's important to remember that some individuals actually deal with systemic problems and real challenges. However, the victim in question uses their situation as a never-ending justification, refusing to accept accountability for their actions or lack of them. You may become involved in their narrative, maybe as the trustworthy helper who has to save them all the time. Imagine that you have listened for several hours to a friend criticizing their ex-partners for their never-ending streak of unsuccessful relationships. This not only wastes your time, but it may also quietly inspire you to take on a victim mentality of the same kind in your own life. Therefore, how would you approach a victim? It may be alluring to step in and save them, giving them unending guidance and emotional support. However, the Stoics would advise against doing so. They would advise setting clear boundaries to safeguard your mental health. One strategy you might use is called compassionate detachment. Be nice and understanding, but don't try to pull them out of predicaments they have to handle on their own. Provide a sympathetic ear, but avoid taking on the role of their perpetual problem solver. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injustice." Avoid the temptation to adopt the victim's story if you find yourself drawn into it. In the chess game of life, living in a state of permanent checkmate is frequently a decision rather than an inevitable outcome. Take charge of your own game board and choose your moves. Maintain the flow of your pieces, make calculated risks when needed, and play for development and knowledge rather than for retribution or sympathy. Type of people. Number 4. The doubter. Imagine yourself a painter working on a canvas. Your vision gains color, depth, and vitality with each brushstroke. Let the doubter in. They enter your studio, take a quick look at your work, and start criticizing it right away. Are you certain about that color? Most painters never get it perfect, and it doesn't seem realistic. Their statements begin to damage your bright painting, much like drab paint strokes. This is not your typical constructive criticism that is sometimes helpful. Rather, it's a lingering aura of pessimism and mistrust. Let's take an example where you are enthusiastic about embarking on a new job path. You've done your homework, talked to experts in the industry, and perhaps even enrolled in a few introductory classes. The naysayer instantly lists off all the reasons why it won't succeed when you express your enthusiasm to them. It's a very competitive market, Do you possess the necessary skills? What happens if you don't succeed? Their uncertainties eventually begin to feel like your own, and your confident vision begins to crumble. Now, how do you respond to someone who is a doubter, particularly if they may be a close friend? Asking them for help instead of merely expressing your objectives or goals is an unusual but powerful strategy. When individuals are given advisory roles, they are less likely to directly criticize your ideas and are more likely to provide helpful criticism. Another approach uses a strategy known as positive confrontation to change the narrative. Encourage them to come up with solutions rather than letting them consume your negativity. If they tell you that it's too late to change positions, respond with something interesting. How do you believe someone could make a career change then? This redirects the negative energy and promotes a more positive type of conversation. Remember the words of the Stoic philosopher Epictetus. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. Not listening is the same as taking in all of the negative. It involves separating useful information from unnecessary noise. Take a step back when the doubters begin to cast their shadows over your work. Listen, reflect, and continue painting your own life with the colors that speak to you. Don't let anyone turn your vibrant masterpiece into a dull gray landscape. Type of people number 5, the dangerous positivist. This is a person you know. They radiate sunshine, rainbows, and an infinite supply of emoticons at all times. When you're going through a tough time, they're the ones advising you to simply be cheerful, sweeping off your emotions and experiences with a flashy, sparkly optimism. Think of yourself as a garden. There are bugs and weeds in addition to flowers. However, a poisonous positivist is adamant about dismissing anything that isn't a rose by the bloom. Aphids on your leaves, just pay attention to the flowers. They would advise, don't let negativity enter your garden. Although it sounds positive, their method might leave you feeling worthless and cut off from reality. Let's say you're going through a difficult breakup and are feeling depressed, confused, and in need of emotional equilibrium. The poisonous positivist's advice applies here. Smile and be happy. There are plenty of fish in the sea. This kind of overly optimistic thinking ignores the complexity of human feeling and the difficulties that come with living. How can you tend your garden with a liberal sprinkle of good vibes without allowing the poisonous positivists to tread all over it? Another approach is to have a conversation with them that embraces both brightness and shadow. If they say, "Look on the bright side, at least you have your health," you could reply, "Yes, I'm grateful for my health, but it's also okay for me to feel upset about this specific issue. Both can coexist." Psychologists refer to this technique as emotional granularity, the capacity to experience and distinguish between a large variety of emotions, both good and bad. When the poisonous positivism tells you to simply be happy, stop and identify the complex emotions you are experiencing. It's okay that I'm feeling a little down today because of a problem might be a freeing statement. To reference Stoic thought, Seneca once said, "True happiness is to understand our duties toward God and man, to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." Take note of the harmony between appreciating the moment and acknowledging that obligations aren't always pleasant. It is not Stoic to concentrate just on the good or the bad. The key is to accept life's complexity with equilibrium, so the next time someone throws poisonous positivism at your well-kept garden, stand aside. Recall that for a garden to thrive, it requires both sunshine and rain. Accept the whole range of your emotions and continue to give your garden the depth and nuance it requires. Type of people number 6, the manipulator. See your life as a storyline for a movie. Since you are the main character, you know how you want your tale to go. The identity of your mentors and supporters, as well as the details of your last act, are where the twists lie. Here comes the manipulator, the enigmatic producer, who quietly rewrites your script without you noticing until one day you discover that the plot has taken a detour. The manipulator is adept at using psychological or emotional manipulation. They may try to sway you in their favor by flattering you, making you feel guilty or even lying. You might have a friend who always manages to get you to pay for dinner by saying something like, "You know, I've been having a rough month and you're so successful. It wouldn't mean much to you, but would make my day better." Gradually, you discover that your generosity has been used, yet confronting them causes unease, as they present it as a help to a friend in need. Managing a manipulator may be challenging. One way to fight what some experts refer to as their practices is fogging. This tactic is accepting the truthfulness of the manipulator's claims, while standing your ground against emotional blackmail. If they say, "You're so successful, you should cover dinner," you could respond, "You're right that I've been doing well, but let's split the bill, as we usually do." Establishing and upholding limits is another strategy. Learn to say no firmly if the manipulator asks you to give them money or agree to do things you find difficult. Keep your words clear and your tone composed. I'm here to provide emotional support and to establish boundaries while preserving the friendship. I can't provide money. Drawing inspiration from Stoic thought, Epictetus warned us, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." The manipulator feeds off of your predicted responses. They take advantage of your compassion, your shame, or your need for validation. You reclaim your script when you decide to react in a different way. Thus, keep in mind that you are the one holding the pen if you discover a manipulator hiding in your life. You are the author of your own narrative. Additionally, even if the cast could consist of a wide range of personalities, your path should always be determined by your own principles and choices. Take control of your story and refuse to allow anyone else to write the story of your life. Type of people number 7, the time-consuming. Imagine your everyday activities like a well-composed symphony. Every tool stands for a duty or obligation, and they produce a melodic balance when played together. However, at that point, the vampire enters and begins to scream off pitch, drowning out your melody and transforming your lovely song into unpleasant cacophony. The vampire isn't always malicious. Indeed, they may appear to be rather harmless. It can be a co-worker who persistently disrupts you with unimportant inquiries, causing your otherwise productive workday to become a sequence of disjointed moments. Alternatively, it may be a friend who persistently sends you invitations to social gatherings you don't want to go to, forcing you to attend and wasting your time and energy in the process. Even while these contacts don't seem like much at first, over time, they can have a very negative impact. So how do you keep a time vampire from ruining your symphony? The Pomodoro technique is one useful tactic. A technique for managing your time that involves splitting your work into 25-minute segments and taking brief breaks in between. You specify that you don't want to be bothered during these times. This creates a barrier to prevent the loss of your most productive moments. Saying no is not only acceptable, but also crucial for your well-being if you are dealing with a social time vampire. Instead of offering elaborate excuses, a simple, "I appreciate the invite, but I can't make it." Suffering declining an invitation is not a rejection of the person. It's an affirmation of your own needs and priorities. In the words of Seneca, life, if well lived, is long enough. We learn from Stoicism that time is one of our most precious resources, one that needs to be distributed sensibly. We use it as a canvas to paint the picture of our life. Therefore, we should be very picky about what and who we choose to paint. Ensure that every note, instrument, and melody in the magnificent creation of your life is in harmony with your ultimate goal. Don't allow a time vampire's cacophonous incursion to disturb your harmonious composition. Hold the baton firmly and conduct your life with purpose, ensuring that every moment is a note well played in your harmonious masterpiece. As we reach the finale of today's exploration into the characters who can derail our path towards stoic resilience and wisdom, let's not forget that self-awareness is key. It's easy to recognize these types in others, but the more challenging and enlightening task is to look within. Are you perhaps unintentionally playing one of these roles in someone else's life? Remember, Stoicism isn't just about navigating the world. It's also about understanding and improving ourselves. If today's discussion has sparked a realization, an epiphany, or even just a bit of introspection, I'd love to hear from you in the comments section. Give this video a like and share it to someone you think may find it useful. Please remember to click the subscribe button if you haven't already. Preserve the persevering spirit and remain stoic till the next video.